Welcome to the fish tank.
Hey everybody, Fishman here, and welcome to another video. After last Friday's video, I got a lot of comments which were pretty much general filtration comments. They were asking me questions, everything from what my favorite types of filters were, what filters I choose for clients and why, and other stuff like which is better, a trickle filter or a sump, and what kind of sumps, like how you would design a sump so that the flow rate through it is optimal and all that sort of stuff. None of those questions are the kinds of things I can answer in a comment section. It would take too much time. So I thought I would try and do here is put together a video which will address at least some of those a little bit better than I could in the comment section. I'm still doing it blind because I'm not sure of specific situations, and I do make my choices based on some interesting things sometimes, and it's kind of hard to do that when you don't know what's going to be kept or the sunlight's going to be, all that sort of stuff. But at least in general, I'm going to try and cover some of it. The two filters I decided to start with because, well, one because it was a trickle filter, which is the one I fixed up, and the other is a sump, and why I would use either one. Before I get to it, all filters, every last one of them has its uses. They have certain situations where they are actually better than others, but no filter is the best filter for all situations. They all have, like I said, they all have their little niches. So I'm going to start with trickle filters. The nice thing about trickle filters, and the reason why I use them, is they're very good for degassing. You end up with a fair amount of carbon dioxide buildup in certain circumstances, like a heavily populated fish tank, and especially like an African cichlid tank, because African cichlids, they're pretty bad at eating plants. There are a few species of plants that they won't chew on, and I have kept some with Africans, and there's no problem. But you normally can't have a heavily planted tank, so a little extra degassing is really good, and Africans like to have a lot of extra oxygen in the water, and all that extra splashing and everything is really good for that. And that's pretty much where I use it mostly, is in that sort of tank where there's a lot of extra metabolism happening. Now the problem with trickle filters is, well, the problem and their strength is they're very good at the nitrogen cycle. They will convert fish wastes into nitrate in short order, and that's really good for like freshwater tanks and that sort of thing. But it's not good for a saltwater tank. I never use a trickle filter on a saltwater tank. My preference there obviously is a sump, and that is actually where sumps are really quite good. They don't have that same high splash and high conversion rate for that sort of thing, and you can fill them up with like live rock and other stuff and put other things in there, especially for marine tanks that augment that. I don't really use sumps for freshwater tanks. Actually, I don't think I ever have. No, actually, almost exclusively I use trickle filters, especially if you're going to have like a large fish that's going to have a lot of food tossed in and that sort of thing, where it's going to need a lot of mechanical filtration on top of it, and that way you can get rid of a lot of that before it even enters the nitrogen cycle. So that's just something else to keep in mind. I mean, there are a lot of large fish that are really messy. I did have one comment where a lady's husband, wanted to keep a large fish, and she wanted to design for a sump for that. And I would actually recommend making a trickle filter for that. It would probably work better. And it's easy to convert. I think she had a 20-gallon tank. And the easy way to do that would be to stack the trays like I do in, I have some trickle filters in my fish room. And I just make these trays and I just stack them. And that way the water all goes through it, and you can remove trays, you can clean trays. And the most important thing is the top tray, which is usually a mechanical filter. You can pull the wool out, clean it, put it back, and all that sort of stuff. And that would probably be the best for that sort of thing. I hope that helps. Now this tray here is the reason why I'm doing it, mostly so I can, I can fill you in all the other stuff, and you can watch something besides just a filter splashing away. This is very easy to do. I think it took me about 5-6 minutes. It's easy to build these trays. Initially, when I first started making these, I would buy some square 1/4-inch rod, and I would do that. But it's very easy to cut these little strips, and the nice thing about them is they give you a little extra support for the egg crate, and I find that really quite beneficial. Now, I also intend on this, if there's interest, covering other filters. Underground filters, box filters, sponge filters, hobs, power filters, canister filters. There's actually a long list of filters. If you have a specific kind of comparison you want, definitely leave that comment in below, and I will definitely get to it. One other question I want to handle here is someone wanted to know how I go about deciding what filter to use in a client situation. Now that's really kind of difficult to answer. Now the short part of it is almost every filter I try to install in a system is I want it to be not taking any room up in the tank. So that does leave out a lot of filters. I can't put an internal box filter. Can't use sponge filters, though I do have a couple clients where that is the case, simply because well, it's low budget and they just can't afford to have a drill tank and all that other stuff. So it's just a matter of necessity that way. But like I said, I want the inside of the tank to be completely devoid of anything that has anything to do with heating, filtration. Nothing but decor goes in the tank. So that's usually why I drill a tank, and then what is left there is just nothing to look at but what you have for fish. And that's really kind of important for clients. That doesn't mean I have anything against any of those filters. I use an awful lot of them in other situations, but it's not the kind of thing that I can do for a client. So for clients, I'm pretty much restricted to canister filters, trickle filters like this, and sumps. Trickle filters and sumps are great for the larger tanks. You don't really want something this large running a 30-gallon tank, because it is massive overkill. This filter here could run probably close to 300 gallons of water. I have one of these running on 3 7-foot tanks, so it's filters perfectly fine for that. So, and this is a perfect illustration of the degassing effect. This is the old filter that I cleaned out. Some of the egg crate in the bottom is still the old stuff. I didn't bother trying to clean the egg crate, so you see a little dirt there on the left. That's fine. Now, I didn't put any media in this on the bottom, but normally I would put lava rock there, or if it's going to be like an African cichlid tank, I would put crushed coral. These filters are great. Now, there's obviously going to needs to be a tray in the middle as well. And I usually run one submerged and one above in the air, and that way I get the best of both. The submerged one has a lot more exposure to the liquid waste going by, and the other one will have the lots more air involved, so it gets more filtration. That's the guppy tank up there. This is actually not the filter that's running it. The little box filter has been doing a great job. This I just diverted the old. There's actually normally I build spray bars for this, but I didn't have time, so just the deflection plate also works really quite well. And that's just a piece of acrylic in there. This is my old utility pump. It's kind of falling apart, but it still works. It's just easier to do it this way, so I just quickly stuck it all together, put it on there, and ran it on that tank, just to show you how this would run. Obviously, if this was going to be set up permanently, it needs more stuff, but like I said, this is a really good tank, and it is really good filter, and it's way overkill for that tank. I would never run it on there. It's way more than it needs. It could actually run all those tanks. Now, the other thing I forgot to mention in the beginning is there's going to be some changes in the fish room. This is my old air pump. I've had it for about 15 years. And this has been sitting like this with all these air lines coming out the front, because I've been doing a lot of switching off and whatnot. But what I plan to do now is I want to convert this top row to air driven. And I want to see if I can do proper water changes. Those are drilled high, so that might be a bit of a problem. But there's one other row of tanks, like I said, I want to get more air driven to see if I can do water changes. So far, the tanks I've been running right now, the new rack, it's been great, it's been easy, and the clean. So I want to tear this one down, put some tanks there, and then I also want to run that top tank, so I need another air pump, so I bought an air pump. It's going to go up right there, and it's going to run all this, and then I'm going to have to run around. So that's going to be a future video, but I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. This is all going to come down. So thank you very much for watching. If you like this style of video, please like and or subscribe. That would be much appreciated. Here's the new pump, nice and shiny and new. I'm not going to obviously use that manifold. I will build a proper one for it. But that's, again, for another video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, and bye for now.